Hey there, do you want to know about updates and information on EU4, but don't have time to read through all the development diaries that are coming out? Well, I made this quick video here to try and get you up to speed on the most recent update, Black and White Sheep. This is going to be part of the Kings of Kings expansion that'll be coming out potentially at the end of this year. If we look here, this update focuses primarily around QQ, AQ, and Georgia and Armenia. There's a lot of updates here when we go through it. In fact, there's 31 total new missions for both AQ and QQ. Some of the big things for you to note is that most of these missions are going to be focused around conquest. Specifically, if we look at AQ, that's really their goal, is expansion, getting a lot bigger, and getting a lot of tech idea development cost reductions. So there's a lot of modifiers that you can get. There's also a really cool mission where you can restore the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. This is a very popular historical monument that you can read up on, but they have a mission specifically around that to get some history in there. So now on to QQ. Historically, this nation went through some tough times in 1444, so Paradox added in some negative modifiers such as locked estate privileges. You can read through again some of the details around that. They have a locked estate privilege that makes it very difficult for you to survive in the early game, and some of those modifiers will basically tank your economy and increase autonomy. So bad things. You want to essentially get rid of that estate modifier as quick as possible. There's a lot of really great missions in there. Some are around defeating the Ottomans. If you're able to defeat the Ottomans, you'll notice here there's a 10 power projection that's permanent for the rest of the game if you defeat them while never losing a battle. So that's really cool. You'll definitely want to be doing that. You'll also notice that you'll be able to employ janissaries and get a new tier 1 government reform with the if you defeat the Ottomans and get through those steps there. Lastly, most of the conquest missions for QQ are going to be focused on going out east, going into Persia, moving into that area, but you'll be able to form Persia. You'll change to an empire, and you'll also be able to build this really cool monument here, the Marquis Observatory, which I probably butchered. But what's really cool, a lot of you will love this, comet sighted will no longer happen. So if you get this, you'll never have to worry about a -1 stability cost from comet sighted anymore. So very cool. And also you'll get some permanent modifiers till the end of the game around innovativeness and possible number of buildings. So very powerful monument to build there. Okay, and now on to the next part of the update around Georgia and Armenia. Now, historically in 1444, Georgia is not doing that great. You have a lot of things happening around them with them separating into smaller countries and going through a time of turbulence. You can read up on the details here in the dev diary, but all you need to know is that you're going to be stuck in a disaster or a looming disaster. The only way to prevent that disaster from firing is increasing legitimacy to 90, producing an error, increasing your stability to at least 1, and have no provinces controlled by rebels. You'll definitely want to focus on this, so if you want to play Georgia, do that. So if you avoid the disaster, which I would highly recommend, you get some really exciting missions. I've got a couple on the screen here, but the one that's really exciting is you have the ability to get a PU on Muscovy. So there is definitely a way for you to really blob and expand with Georgia. If you can play your cards right, get out of the initial disaster, you should be fine. It's not going to be as hard as a Byzantine run. I know they've got a pretty crazy disaster to start off with and lots of negative modifiers, but if you can get past this initial disaster or a looming disaster, you have a way to really expand here. They even have a way for you to relocate your capital to Constantinople. You'll then unlock some more permanent modifiers, more claims, and I'll also mention here, you can again see on the screen, there's a couple really exciting things around Renaissance, development cost reduction, producing wine, number of buildings, and a lot of really good modifiers. You can again check through all that if you really care. I think the big takeaway for Georgia is lots of expansion opportunity. Now let's move on to Armenia. Armenia will have 23 new missions, and mostly it'll focus on expanding to restore the borders of the Great Armenia. Great Armenia is actually what you can form into. It's a formable. And you'll want to, with Armenia, venture into Persia, Egypt, Anatolia, and more. So there's a lot of expansion paths there. Essentially, with Armenia, your goal is conquest, is to expand out. If you can do some of that, you'll get permanent power projection when you form Great Armenia. You'll also have a mission that allows you to change your capital province resource to cloth, so a big modifier in how much you can earn there. There's also some really good opportunities in here where you can get a minus 35% dev reduction and plus 10 trade value to your capital. So there's a lot of really exciting things. You could really go tall with this nation. I think Armenia has a really playing tall capability here. While you can expand, and there's lots of advantages to that and claims, there's a lot you can do around that. And of course, they had at the end some memes around the last dev update around the Byzantines and some of the crazy modifiers there. So in summary, AQ and QQ both get 31 new missions. We have Armenia with 23 missions and Georgia with 30 missions. So if you really like playing missions and going through those paths to try and keep it historical, I think you'll love this update. Again, it's coming out with the Kings of Kings expansion, which should be sometime before the end of the year or even into the next. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.